So this was actually in the same area as the last one, which is interesting because it was one of the areas that we found the most difficult to find people to teach in, and it also happened to be the area in where I think some of the most miraculous experiences I ever had took place. In this experience, my companion and I were walking down the street, and we saw a family in the distance. And we walked up to them and introduced ourselves, and we hadn't even gotten even done introducing ourselves. We just said, we're representatives of Jesus Christ from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he just put his hand up and said, "I don't want to hear it, thank you," and just walked off. Just took off, walked off with his family, and that happens a lot. So I didn't really think much of it, but we just kept working just kept doing missionary work throughout the week, and then about a week and a half or two later, we were visiting a neighborhood out in the middle of nowhere. We had an appointment with somebody to go teach them out there. And it was a developing neighborhood. They had just been building the houses there, and so there was hardly anybody that lived there at all. Most of it was just deserted. There was maybe like 4 or 5 houses out of 50 that were occupied, and so we'd gone out there to visit this family, and we knocked on their door, and they weren't home. And since it had taken us so long to get out there, we wanted to not waste the time just traveling back and forth between these really distant areas. And so we decided to see if there's anybody else we could teach or visit in the area. And so we knew that there was a member family who had not been to church in a while, and that we hadn't seen for a while, and that we knew had been going through a hard time. And so we went to go visit them. And we go up to their door and knock on it, and again there was no answer. And we looked around at all the houses nearby, and there was like hardly any cars or houses that even looked occupied. And so we didn't really think it was worth our time to continue working in that area, to be knocking doors, and there was nobody on the streets or within sight that we could see. And so we decided to go back to the main section of town and continue working there. And so we turned around from the doorstep and started walking away. And I'd gotten about to the end of the walkway of the house when this powerful feeling of kind of an anxiousness hit me. And I just stopped because it was so sudden and so powerful, and it felt like there was something I was forgetting to do. But I racked my brain, and I checked my agenda, and there was nothing in that area that we had to do. And so I thought, that's weird. I must just be a figment of my imagination. So I started walking forward again, and again this feeling hit me, this intense anxiousness that there was something I needed to do. And so I look around, seeing what there was I could possibly need to do there, and I see that, and as I'm glancing around, my eyes cross this door, and I just get this feeling, go knock that door. So my eyes just stopped, riveted on that door, and I just had this feeling, this impression to go knock the door. And so my companion's staring at me as I suddenly stop, and I'm staring around and staring at doors. And he said, "What's wrong, Elder?" And I said, "I don't know." And so I take off, and I start walking towards this door. And I go up to the house, and my companion runs to catch up to me. He's like, "What are we doing, Elder?" And I said, "I don't know." And so I walk up to the door, and I knock on the door, and he says, "Who lives here?" And I said, again, "I don't know. I have no idea." And I was halfway expecting there to not be anybody home, because again, this entire neighborhood was pretty much deserted. And but to my surprise, within a few seconds, the door opens, and a man opens the door, and he spots us, and he says, "Oh, it's you. I've been waiting for you. Come in." And so my companion and I would just glance at each other, totally shocked and surprised, having no idea what's going on. We walk into the house, we sit down, and as we're chatting with the man, he's chatting with us totally naturally, as if we know each other already. And as I'm chatting with him, I'm starting, recognition starts to dawn on me that this was the man who had blown us off, several weeks earlier. And I was astounded at one thing by the change, but again at how we had come to find him. And he said, "How did you guys know to come knock here?" I basically just said, I had no idea anybody lived here, and I just kind of explained to him what I just told you about why I knocked his door, and I said, "Is there a reason why we're here? Was there a reason we were supposed to come?" And then he said, "The day I blew you guys off, I just kind of did it out of reflex, because there's a lot of preachers. But then after you guys left, I started thinking about it, and I just felt, that I needed to talk with you. So I resolved the next time I saw you, I was going to, ask you guys to come over. And I saw you guys once as I was walking out of Walmart. I saw you guys several blocks down the road, and so I yelled and called out to you, but you were so far away you didn't hear me, so you just kept walking." And he said, but I wasn't worried, even though I couldn't get a hold of you that time. I thought to myself, if God really wants these people to come to my house, they will find my house. And And here you guys are. And as he continued explaining, he said, it's actually pretty miraculous that you found me at all, because I work in another city, and so I usually have to leave like 5 or 6 in the morning, and I don't get back until extremely late because I play in a band on the side, and we usually play at clubs, every night. And so I'm not home until very late. So I'm usually working right now. But I came home, I took work off just for 2 hours today to come home and see my daughter, who's going to be singing in a performance in about an hour or so. And I came home to get a little bit of a snack and lunch before I went over. And so this is the only time I have ever been home during the day in probably, several months. And so it's actually a miracle that you found me. And once we started teaching him, and he liked the lesson so much that he invited us back to teach the rest of his family, and we continued to teach the family for a while. They were a great family, and that experience just taught me again that the Lord really does exist, that miracles do exist, and that He's very aware of His children and their needs, and He can answer our prayers, and he will answer our prayers, even if that answer is through the action of others. And that was just an extreme fortification to my own testimony.